Hey guys, so this time, I made an Iron Man missile launcher from the Mark III suit. Now, many other creators have already made their own version of this, but a lot of those designs use things like syringes and bike brake cables, to which I decided, I don't need all that. So, I designed this 3D printed model that is powered by string and only uses a spring to shoot. All the materials I used will be linked down in the description below, and without further ado, let's get started. Now the first step is to head over to my Thangs page and download all the files for this model. From there, you can export the files to your slicer. For the launcher assembly, I printed everything with 3 walls and 15% infill in silver. For the gauntlet, I used 2 walls and 10% infill in red filament. Be sure to orient the bullet and the long axle horizontally to ensure that there are no weak points along layer lines. After everything is printed, it's time to assemble the launcher. You will need the main component, the base, both types of links, the trigger block, the axles, some thin string, and a small rubber band. I first started off by attaching the 2 thicker links to the hole on the launcher, making sure that the 2 tabs were pointing outwards. I decided to attach the pieces by friction welding, so I cut off some pieces of filament and straightened them out, then added some tape to one end so that it would fit in my Dremel. Using friction to melt down the filament, I attached the ends of the axle to the links. Next, I attached the middles of all the links together, and attached another axle through the middle links and the slot. Finally, I attached all of this onto the base. For the trigger block, there are 2 tiny notches on it, where I took a tiny rainbow loom rubber band and attached it to the barrel of the launcher. To pull the trigger down, I took some thin nylon string and threaded it through the hole on the trigger block, and also through the 2 holes on the base. Then I just tied a knot in it. Now, when the launcher lifts off the base, the trigger block will be pulled down, and the bullet will fly out. For the bullet, I just used some super glue to attach a 35mm long spring to it. Now for the gauntlet, I took some elastic bands and cut it to the size of my wrist, and attached it through the slots using a stapler. I wanted to make the 2 halves detachable, so I took some 5mm by 2mm magnets and glued them into the holes on the edge, making sure that the magnets were oriented correctly. Now the 2 halves should snap together. Next, I simply used some super glue to glue the launcher onto the back of the gauntlet, making sure that the string went through the small cutout. Now to actually be able to shoot this thing, I took some more of the nylon string and tied it onto the tabs. Then, I looped the string around the back axle and threaded it all the way to the front of the gauntlet and tied a knot to loop my finger through. However, I ended up changing this as the string kinda dug into my hand. So to fix this, I designed a part that would allow me to pull on the string without it digging into my skin. I glued it onto the gauntlet and routed the string into the groove. I also added some rubber bands onto the back of the launcher to make sure that it was fully retracting after shooting. The final step is to attach the top and outer covers. I simply used some super glue to attach it to the gauntlet and the top of the launcher. To load this thing, we need to first lift up the launcher and insert the projectile, making sure that the trigger block is securely in the notch. Then we can push the launcher back down. Now, we are ready to shoot.